Right, welcome to today's video. I am honoured to say that we are joined today by my favourite guest that I've ever had on the channel, the lead singer of Citizen Soldier, Mr. Jake Segura. Round of applause. I know a lot of you have been asking for me to do another video with him, and so you ask and we deliver. So Jake, do you want to give us a little introduction to those who may be first discovering the band and who may not know who you guys are, and give a little insight into today's video about ICU?
Yeah. First off, thanks for having me. I am definitely not feeling like myself, so we'll set the over/under for voice cracks in this interview at like 10. You taking the over or the under on that?
I'm going to go with over, because it includes me.
Okay, I was hoping you wouldn't say that. That's okay. Well, yeah, man. As far as the band is concerned, I think the quick summary of that is, this band was a happy accident. Um, I went through some mental health struggles when I was younger, 6 years ago, that led to my hospitalization. And the first, it's a record EP this band put out, called Caroline, was just meant to be this passion project or a way for me to find, a healthy channel to process through what I went through, to work through the trauma. It was more of like a therapy project than it was, this desire to be a rock star or to make this a career. And people just really connected with the songs, and we were just kind of like, okay, I guess we got to do this again, and then we did it again, and then we're like, I guess we have to keep doing this. We're stuck, happily stuck, and one thing led to another. My experiences that my struggles that I went through led to me working with youth in the juvenile justice system and in the residential treatment system. And I got to work with clinicians, social workers, mental health counselors, marriage and family therapists, and I became really passionate about therapy and went off and got my bachelor's and master's in social work at the University of Utah. And now I'm just kind of, part-time therapist, part-time writing really sad songs, and trying to find time to also be a good dad and husband and sibling and son, and it's just crazy. But through all that, we had time to make a new record this past year called ICU that really goes back to the roots of the band, and that moment where that was really a turning point for me in my life. And the whole record is based around the concept that if people haven't found that moment yet or that turning point yet, or if they're in that place, I want them to know what I went through, and I want them to know that, if I could go back to my older self and say, you got to hold on because you have no idea how much better this gets. Everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves that encouraging voice, and that's what this new record's about.
I think that's one of the main reasons why you've all connected so much with the fan base, because you can tell it's come from a real place, and that's something that we can really tell as fans. And so we really appreciate you guys and yourself being so vulnerable through your tracks. So talking of the ICU tracks, I do know that I believe it was last night or earlier today, I'm not sure what the timing is, but Afterlife, the first record on the track, was released. I'm going to get my video out for it, but till we then, do you want to talk to me a little bit about what people can expect with Afterlife?
Afterlife is a song that I've been really excited about putting out for a long time. It's As a songwriter, I think it's a great example of the value of humility as a writer, and letting other people help you, and accepting that you don't have to always be the one to write the song by yourself. Like, people have other ideas and perspective and color that can make it something that you can't make it on your own sometimes. Every now and then I just want to sit down and write a song by myself and no one else gets to touch it, like a Let Me Let Go, or I don't know. There are a lot of examples of that. But, when it comes to a song like this, I was in a writing session with Nina Ossoff and Kathy Sommers, who I've written Waiting on the Sun with, Thank You for Hating Me. We've written a lot of things together. And Kathy had the idea, what about a song called Afterlife? That's a title that's been on my mind. And I was like, how would that be a Citizen Soldier song? You know, I immediately thought about like the Avenged Sevenfold song, and like I think Five Finger Death Punch has a song called Afterlife. So I was like, I don't know, we need to make it unique and cool, and um, I had this idea, like a really cool moment where I was like, oh my gosh, what if the hook was you don't have to die to find your afterlife? You know, like what if that was the whole like, and that was like once I said that, I knew there was something special there. But then like, and that's the hardest part of the whole process is that moment. But once you've done that, it's all just okay. Now, how do we make this awesome? And we wrote the song. I sat on it and I loved the hook, but there was just something that was wrong with it. And I sent it to my buddy Zach Williams, who sings in a band called Dead Eyes, and he sent it back to me with that big riff that you hear in the song. The song has this really big riff, and I had this idea for, you know, adding this big choir that's involved to kind of like mixing the orchestral stuff with the heaviness. And we were able to create this really heavy track that just made the song feel so much more current and fresh and unique. And there was just one more thing with it that I just could not figure out was not landing for me. And I sent it to my buddy Josh Landry, who's, you know, low spirit. And he was like, what if you repeated the have to die, afterlife, afterlife hook in the chorus that you'll hear? And it was just like, oh my gosh, yes, why didn't I think of that? That's perfect. Like little tweaks, you know, it's funny because I go back and I listen to it and I'm like, I wrote 95% of this song still. And it's not about that, right? Like it's so much more fun to connect with people and like share experiences with them than to like walk around and beat your chest and be like, yeah, I do all the heavy lifting, I'm the best writer in the room, whatever. But like it wasn't like I had to give up all this creative power, but there were so many little contributions they made along the way that helped me realize the vision that I had from the beginning, you know? And so really big epic song. I think it's like it could be listed in like our magnum opus playlist for like songs that define who Citizen Soldier is as a band. Like it's very much on there with like the This Is Your Sign, the Always Decembers, like the songs that like if I could only show people a few songs to show them who we are as a band, I would show them those songs. And so really excited for people to especially hear the bridge because I hit the highest note in that bridge that I've ever hit on any Citizen Soldier song. It hurts me just thinking about it, but it was fun. Yeah, just a really that song is a blast live, man. It's the song that we're opening our set with every night. We opened that show in Idaho Falls with that song, and there were people already singing the words just from the TikToks. The song wasn't even out yet. So really, really cool to see that. I think it's my one of my favorite songs on the record.
Oh, that's absolutely. It's you can be. I like to think of it like a Christmas tree. You're the main thing. You are that big tree, right? But sometimes you got to put a little bit of ornaments here or there to make the whole thing come together. So I understand the whole. It's my baby. I want to make it me, but it's being able to open yourself up to that sort of thing. It opens up your world. So I'm glad that sort of happened because some of those songs you've mentioned that have happened because of the collaborations. Some of my favorites. So you might be the best writer in the room, but it's like it's not about that, like you said. It's about making the best that you can, and it might necessarily mean that you need a little bit of extra inspiration, which I really like.
Well, and every people, I get emails from kids all the time who are like, "What's your best writing advice?" And I'm just like, "Write with people better than you." That is the only advice because they're going to see things and they're going to correct you and they're going to like you watch how they work and you're like, "Oh, okay. I don't do that. I like that. That's smart, you know?" We're already working on our next record with a guy named Johnny Andrews, and I'm learning so much watching him and like proposing things that he's like, no, like shoots down. And I'm like, okay, like why, what about that didn't land for him? And you don't have to, nobody has all the answers. Nobody is the all-knowing being when it comes to what works for a song. But part of learning is taking feedback and sitting with it and sorting the parts of it that you agree with and are helpful, and maybe the parts that you don't agree with. Like people told me Would Anyone Care shouldn't be released. I'm glad I didn't take that feedback.
Yeah.
Right. But
So am I.
you have to kind of learn to pick apart what matters and what doesn't.
I think that's a very good lesson for life in general as well. So, Afterlife, I cannot wait to listen. I cannot wait to listen to it. We'll move on to the second track on the record. Alone with Myself. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that's another Kathy and Nina song that we wrote together. Just a really like super unique, pop driven, but heavy rock track. I mean, it's one of those Citizen Soldier songs that has like a trap beat and some like poppy guitars in the verses, and then the chorus just kind of hits you over the head with a big rock. And so it's a fun one. It also has a crazy bridge where like we weave back and forth between a guitar solo and vocals, and it's really cool. Um, but my favorite thing about that song is we just teased it on TikTok a long time ago, and it went super viral, and we just didn't do anything with it. We were just like, we're releasing Scarecrow. We don't have time to drop this. Like, what are we gonna do? And then we were picking songs for ICU, and Josh played this demo, and he was like, "This is great. Why hasn't this been released yet?" And we're like, "Well, it did go viral. We just haven't gotten around to it." So, um, turned out really awesome. Think it's a song people are really going to enjoy. Just a really good, repetitive, hooky earworm that I think could be a good candidate for rock radio too.
No, that's I like that. I do like that. What was I going to say? So with the TikTok stuff, I'm really a big fan of it, and I know that the fans are fans of it too. A bunch of them, I see it all the time. It's like, are you going to release this? Are you going to release this full? And I'm like, I'm sure that they're not just scrapping the ones that they make. There's definitely going to be the ones that you probably still got hold of that you've not yet released, and you're like, how are we going to get this one out? I don't know. Is that like a thing that you do with the TikToks, or is it?
It's like the new A&R, because it's funny because we put a song out called Through Hell, and we have some radio, like most of radio is responding really well to it. This is the first song we've taken to rock radio. But a big name at radio, and I won't say who it is, didn't love it. And it's so funny because I think like if I had just taken this song to him and he'd been like, "Yeah, it's not great," I might have lost my confidence in it. But like, we care about what one dude who runs a radio station thinks, or what the 25,000 people that pre-saved it think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we let these like individuals make decisions for the masses that don't always know what the masses want or like. And so TikTok is like the new A&R. You can take stuff to people and say, "Is this interesting? Do you like this? Is there any potential here?" And um, it's a really powerful tool. It's like that's how we Thank You for Hating Me was the first TikTok song that we just put up, and like that song was a B-side that didn't make This Is Your Sign. I had no intention of releasing Thank You for Hating Me, and now that is the song that we finish every show with. And that's, one of our most popular songs. So TikTok's a great tool. I'm grateful for it, and I try to keep that in perspective because sometimes I want to have a panic attack just looking at that little app. Like it pops up and I see it and I'm like, my blood pressure goes up immediately because I'm like, oh my gosh, because I live on that thing. It's a
Mm.
lot of work and it's emotionally draining. But I'm also grateful that, you know, bands go on week-long runs across the country, and we see bigger growth from putting out 7 videos in a week than some of these bands do on the road.
Yeah.
Not that one is more important than the other, but like the amount of growth that you can create without having to, get a van and a trailer and drive across the country. It's crazy. It's a huge advantage.
Yeah, it's the modern days. It's starting to really, find its niche, and you get that instant feedback. So I like that. I do like that. Now this next one, "Good Enough for God," that's a title that intrigues me.
That song pissed some people off, which we anticipated. Here's the thing with that song, man. Um, that's a song that I wrote, um, thinking it would be for a solo project at some point down the road. Because, maybe it didn't represent the entire experience of the band. We all have diverse backgrounds and beliefs, and it's not a preachy song. It's just like any other song we put out. It's about something some people have experienced. Like not all people struggle with major depression. Not all people struggle with anxiety or with, attachment issues or whatever, right? And so it's funny, we tease that song, and that song is about, growing up in a really strict conservative religious home. And that can have great benefits for some people. Like that structure and that like those boundaries can be really beneficial for some people. For some people, it can be really damaging if they feel like they're trying to reach this bar that they can never really get up to, and they're constantly failing, and it can develop these negative core beliefs about themselves. And that's something that I've personally struggled with. And so, it's not this blanket statement about faith or about God or about religion or whatever. It's more about, because it's funny, in the comments section, I see people arguing about, oh no, this is all wrong. God can help you. God can do this. Like, you are good enough, blah, 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 blah. And you have other people who are like, yeah, religion's evil, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you guys are both missing the point, right? It's like, this is not about arguing and proving something that neither of you are going to be able to prove to each other. This is about listening to someone and empathizing with their experience and what they're feeling, and just, letting those people find each other and connect and support each other. That's all it's about. If you don't believe in God, great. If you do, great. Do what you're going to do. But it's just so funny to me that I'm like, it's amazing how people just need to turn everything into something so controversial and divisive. When it's like, if you can't relate, maybe listen and try and understand somebody more than you did before.
Yeah.
That's a great empathetic exercise to be involved in. And, and if you can relate, great. Hopefully it feels validating, and hopefully it helps you feel seen, because I work with people every day in my therapy practice that struggle with faith crisis, which is a huge issue here in Utah. And that is the loneliest and most difficult thing to experience, because you have their families who are trying to rescue them. They're having doubts about their faith, and so they're trying to pull them in. They're putting their claws in. They're really trying to control the outcome. And you have the people who have left already who are saying, oh, yeah, it's all lies. It's all untrue. Come with us. And they're kind of stuck in between, being pulled two separate directions. And what they really crave is just for somebody to see how scary that place is of doubt and fear. They're really in a situation where they're like, all of the things that I was raised to believe I don't know if they're true anymore, and that's terrifying. It feels like life and death. It feels like, if I make one decision a certain way, am I going to hell? Am I dooming myself for eternity? Or am I waiting, on the other side of that coin, am I wasting my life following something that's just making me more miserable? It's a really scary place to be in, and there's so much pressure involved and other mental health challenges that can come in with it. And so, that song is never going to be in our top 5 or our top 10. I don't think it's going to be one of our more popular songs, but that song is going to be a lot of people's favorite song we've ever put out, because I think it's touching on something that a lot of people haven't touched on in the way that we did. And it has some very unexpected twists and turns. There's a song by Alter Bridge, one of my favorite bands growing up, called Ghost of Days Gone By. And I love it because it goes from like super bright and like hopeful sounding to just dark and almost evil sounding. And that's what a faith crisis feels like. And so the song goes from feeling very like pop hook driven, big arena rock, to like just dark and hopeless and just, grotesquely heavy in moments. And so I think it's raw in a way that probably will rub people the wrong way. But that's okay, because we're all just here to grow, and we can't tiptoe around, other people's perceptions and be afraid to say what we really feel.
Well, I mean, just you explaining that song is like, wow, you wrote this song for me. As someone who's grown up in a religious household, who's sort of stuck between them lines of what's right, what's wrong. They're constantly trying to mold you in a certain way, and if you pull away from it, it's like, no, you're wrong. And it's like, for the sake of the interview, I'm going to keep my stuff together, but that I can already tell is that's going to hit me in a way that I've probably not been hit by a song before. Yeah.
What breaks my heart, man, is like, I've learned that all you have to say to someone struggling with a faith crisis to make them break down is they'll be sitting there and they'll be saying, do you think I'm just like lazy and that's why I'm thinking about leaving? Like, do you think that I'm just like not trying hard enough and all these different things? Or like, do you think that I'm just looking for the easy way out? They have all these doubts about themselves, and I'm like, and I just sit there and I'm like, is this easier? Like, you're sitting across from me crying, you're miserable, like this is causing you so much stress and pain. Like, in what world is this easier? This is the bravest, hardest thing you've ever had to do, because you wouldn't question this unless there's a deep part of you, true to yourself, that was struggling with it on some level, right? And so what I always say is, I'm like, I just see somebody in front of me that just wants so desperately to know what is right, what is the right thing to do. And that's a good person. That's what a good person would want. And, and the way they respond to that, like the breakdown that happens when I say that at times, it's so revealing of just how much those people are craving to feel seen, you know? And usually that's the bigger part of the healing is it's not, they don't figure it all out in one day, life is complex. We don't have all the answers, but them knowing that someone sees that and they're not alone in that is really powerful. So I'm excited to put that song out, and I anticipate that some people will really be grateful for it.
And I think that's the more important part. Is just everyone's going to have their negative opinions on anything, so
Right.
it's not about them.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to move on to number 4, My Own Miracle.
Yeah, it's funny. We went to St. George, which is in southern Utah. It's where all the Red Rock is. Uh, we wrote all the songs and produced them. Josh produced them in Salt Lake, but we went to St. George and did 2 songs down there, which is just like, I love escaping the snow and getting down to the Red Rock and the heat. Like that's my element. I love the desert. And it's it's funny. Josh was so burned out. And then I don't want this to reflect poorly on him because he's the hardest working person ever. But I was kind of like, Josh, I want you to write with me some more, man. Like, I want to do some stuff that's more collaborative. And he was just so fried. Like, Good Enough for God was one of those examples where I was sitting there wanting to write the song, and everyone was out back on the patio, hanging out, eating food, and I'm like, anyone going to help me with this, or am I just going to do this by myself? And I ended up doing it mostly by myself, but I needed to write that song by myself. I needed to kind of detach from everything else and do that. My Own Miracle was a lot more collaborative, in that I wrote it with Josh Landry and Zach Keel. And, that song was started off as like, yeah, I'm going to be my own miracle. Like I'm not going to get any help, like thinking about that fan or that person that has everything going against them, and this empowering idea of like, and I'm still gonna do it just for me. I don't need some outside force to come in and rescue me. I can be that for myself. But we started writing it, and I was like, we've written this song too many times. Like how can we tweak it? And so we tweaked it to make it darker and make it just kind of like sad. And it's one of my favorite bridges in the whole album. But it says, "Are you okay? You need to chat. The questions I was never asked. I should feel strong, but I just feel sad. So just let me grieve what I never had." And, you know, the chorus just, nobody showed up, nobody slowed down. They must have been deaf. I was screaming so loud. Like, we took it and made it really dark and kind of just angry and bitter. And like, I hate that I had to do this for myself. Like, I'm better for it and I'm stronger, but I'm still pissed that
Yeah.
no one else showed up for me, because we thought that, we have the stronger than my storms. We have these, hallelujah, I'm not dead. We have these like anthems that are so empowering, but I think sometimes people need to be like, no one showed up for me and that sucks, And so the song is like this strange twist of like validation and empowerment in one song. And it's funny that bridge doesn't feel as special when I just, quote it lyrically, but I think when you hear that song and you listen to the bridge, you'll understand why it resonates with me so much. Um, just that line of like, I should feel like I'm this badass, but I just feel sad. I just feel sad that no one wanted to help me. No one wanted to step up for me. Like, why was I not worth that? It's like, so just let me grieve that. And that's the whole point of the song. Just let me grieve what I didn't get, what I never had. And so hopefully that's therapeutic. I mean, that song went viral on TikTok a couple times. People seem to really love it. So um, we're excited to put that one out too. I think that one's the next one coming out.
Ooh. See, so everyone always tells people, be the bigger person. You've got this, Sometimes you just want to feel angry, or sometimes you just want to look back and think, where the was everyone?
Right, right.
So and yeah, there's not many that take that angle on it. So again, you guys are developing niches here that that's why it resonates with people. So I love that. So we'll move on to number 5, track number 5, Reason to Live.
Uh, yeah. Um, I think that song is What Anyone Cares sibling, long lost sibling. I think it's just like it kind of felt like, taking how Would Anyone Care kind of twists at the end into this positive, empowering message.
Yeah.
Reason to Live is kind of just like it lives in that space the whole time, you know? And we did this really cool thing at the end of that song where, like, we have a song called Save Your Story where Josh made us end the song at the bridge, which made me so uncomfortable. I'm like, no, 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 that breaks all the rules. We have to end with the chorus hook. But it ended up just being so cool and just like different, and unique. And so in this song, we have this like, it cuts to the bridge, and the bridge is just like this, like, chilling, empty room with like a falsetto vocal. And I sing the bridge a cappella, and the song's over.
Huh.
And it's a really, really unique way to end a song. But like, it's one of those things where you're listening and you think it's building up to something, and then like it just sucks the air out of the room, and you're just like, wow, that's super different. So hopefully, it's one of those things that kind of like raises the eyebrows, but in a good way, where it makes people think more about what's being said and it creates more of an impact.
Oh, 100%. Right, so moving on to the next track, number 6, Therapy.
Yeah, this song is based on a hook that I wrote with Josh Landry for the Scarecrow record. And the hook we wrote in Atlanta was just, I don't need therapy. I need someone to hurt with me. Like I need someone to just hear me and feel it with me and sit there with me and like know how hard this is. Talking more about tapping into that empathy. And, you know, it's a song that I think we forget about, and then every time we hear it, we're like, "Oh my gosh, like, I forgot how good that song is." That's a really cool one. It lives more in that still breathing, um, pretend my pain away kind of like mid-tempo world. Um, but it also has a really cool bridge that just talks about like, I don't need I've been there comparisons, a safety plan, or medicine. Just lists all these different things that we try and force on people when they're struggling. And it's like, if you would just take the time to listen to me and like truly try and understand, that would be so healing in a way that would do so much more for me than any of these things, you know? And so I think that's one that's going to have a lot of mass appeal. I think it's something that a lot of our fans have tried therapy and not had the best experience because, therapists can be too focused on fixing at times as opposed to connecting and understanding. And, hopefully that song is validating for anyone who's been in that situation.
That's really good. I love that. You guys are such a people's band. Like you're like like you get the people's champ. That's how I see Citizen Soldier as like the people's champ.
That's the goal. That's what we're trying for.
Yeah. Um, Talking of, we're moving on to number 7. Now this is something that I feel like this is going to resonate with me. Fake friends. We've all had some fake friends before.
Yeah, this is a song. Yeah. I wrote this song by myself because I like to play this game of constantly evaluating whether the people in my life actually care about me or not.
Mm.
That's where I live most of the time. Just constant self-gaslighting. So, the song is just about, it's in the hook. It's just all I've ever had are fake friends, the kind for killing time on weekends that disappear right when you need them, you know. And it's just about feeling like you have a lot of people that or like maybe you could ask for help when it comes to a small thing or a small favor, but it's like who would really show up for me if I were to be in a crisis situation, you know? And that kind of defeating realization of like, oh, I'm not sure who I would call, you
Yeah.
know? I think a lot of people feel that way. I think a lot of people who listen to our music would just kill for one person in their life that they feel like is their like ride or die, like someone they can fully trust. And I think everyone craves that, you know? Um, and that's a song that uh, I I wrote it as a hook, just thinking it would never be a Citizen Soldier song because it's so poppy. You know, it's kind of in that easy's never been this hard territory where we're like, yeah, we can never put this out. But then we're like, oh wait, we're an independent band and we can do whatever we want. We will put it out. Um, and you know, I think it's just a really it's got some fun little Jake self-deprecation in there that is fun to sprinkle in there every now and then in the songs, you know, where it's like you want to limit how much of it you do because it can become pretty defeating. But every now and then, you know, a dark joke and some self-deprecation can be kind of therapeutic in a way. And so it's a uh, fun, sad song. And it's like sad and defeating, but it's still something that you want to like drive around in the summer and put the windows down and blast it. It's weird in that way, you know, but I think it's going to be something that's a very nice release for people who feel really frustrated with their social circle.
Well, I completely understand that. The constant doubt of, is anyone even going to be there? You know, when you're in the worst spots. And the worst part is when you've been into them worst spots and then you look around and there's no one there. Then well, you look around, there's only you there.
Yeah, well, there's a verse in that song. It's so funny. Like I'll write these verses and I'll read them to Josh, and he'll just do this thing where he's like, it's like it's good, Jake, but why? Like it's a little dark or a little bit makes me feel a little bit too much. And the verse is, I guess compassion is the worst of all my vices, because no one cares when I'm the one that's in a crisis. I'm such a loser, and that's putting it so lightly. Can't even my can't even pay my therapist enough to like me. And that's
Oh,
all I've ever had or fake friend. It's just very like I'm a loser and I'm gonna sing about it and I'm gonna kind of uh, cope. I'm gonna cope and I'm gonna pull the smile up a little bit and um, you know, probably a song people will want to listen to in small doses, but you know, you gotta throw that stuff in there and have a sense of humor every now and then and not take yourself too seriously.
well, someone with dark humor itself, I know for a fact I'll enjoy that. Let's move on to number 8, Broken Like Me.
Yeah, we're playing that one live. That's been a really fun one to play live. Really good upbeat song that's just about, you know, like what if no one's broken like me? Like what if my trauma and my issues are so unique that there's no one that can fix me or help me? You know, like what if I'm beyond the point of repair? You know, that fear. And just the chorus just talks about like they tell you to hold on, they tell you it's going to get better, they tell you, but you know, but when? Like how long do I do this for? You know what I mean? Like what if I'm just effective in a way that no one can get or understand? You know, and it's a really, you know, like the rhythm of the song, it's a very up tempo rockin' uh stadium rock kind of song, and it has a really great guitar solo from Matt on it. It has this really hooky riff, and then the bridge goes into this breakdown, and Matt just rips this solo that we haven't given him enough space to do on these records and these songs, and I want to do more of that. But for people who enjoy the guitar work that we do, um, I think they're really gonna like that solo. He just, you know, melts it away. Just absolutely thrashes that thing. So really, really fun bridge with him doing his thing and me doing some screamy, you know, really high vocal stuff. And um, again, it's just like one of those feel good sad songs. You know, it's it's definitely a tough swallow lyrically, but I think um, it's definitely really strong when it comes to the validation piece.
That juxtaposition of a feel good sad song, it's a good place to be in regards to writing good songs.
That's where we tend to live.
And I feel like more guitar solos for me anyway. Personally, I love as a massive Avenged Sevenfold Sinister Gates fan. You know, them big long guitar solos. I'm a big fan, so I look forward to hearing more from that. Uh, Talking of the next song, track 9, a comparison. So comparison, talk to me.
Yeah, comparisons are really one of my favorite songs on the record as far as just it's so unique. It's one of those songs like I really love a song that didn't do great for us, but one of my favorites that we've ever put out is a song called My Little Secret, where we experiment with some like trap beats on the verses and then it's a rock chorus. And we kind of did that on this song. And, the song is just about the dangers of comparison. And it talks about, me and Josh wrote it together, and it is such a Jake and Josh song. I mean, it's just we sat there and talked about like, the verses, when it comes to me, don't know why I'm such a hater. Should I skip lunch or should I throw it up later? This hoodie's too big, but it makes me feel safer. It's just a laundry list of, people who struggle with self-image or body dysmorphia or eating disorders, and that struggle to like live in a world where this standard of perfection is being, force fed to you every day via these different platforms. And like, how are you not supposed to compare yourself to that? And how is that not supposed to create these complex mental health challenges later on? So, the line that we came up with that we just thought was so unique and so cool was just, we've got every crutch, every drug, every medicine, but there's no pill for comparison. You know,
Oh,
we've got all these things, advanced, modern science and medicine, but like it's really hard to treat comparison, to be forced to look at something else and be told this is what beautiful is, this is what, and it takes a lot of work and therapeutic help to rewire the brain and learn that, everyone's different and, there's beauty in our bodies in the functions they perform for us. And there's beauty in the fact that we all don't look the same and that there's variety because we're all attracted to different things and different features. And so, it's hard to relearn that with the way, society is built as constructs. And I think this song really taps into a lot of that. And I think the bridge says some really, I think the bridge makes some absolutely, for lack of a better term, I just think the bridge makes some really important statements about, you know, when you're being put down in your grave, people aren't going to be talking about what you looked like and your features and your weight. And you know what I mean? Like they're going to talk about who you were and how you loved. Like I think the bridge really does a powerful job of putting all that into perspective. And hopefully that's comforting for anyone who struggled with, I struggle to, my wife takes pictures of me and my daughter, and I don't want to look at them after she's taken them because I've struggled with body image issues for years. I when I get ready every morning, I don't look in the mirror. I'm very careful with how much I let myself look at myself because it really contributes to my anxiety and my depression. And it's something that I'm working on. And so like for anyone who knows what it's like to see yourself and immediately have this physical reaction in your body of, oh, something's wrong. Like that's so sad that people have to feel that way. And this song just taps into that.
comparison. Sometimes people don't understand that they even compare themselves to themselves, and they look back and they go, "Oh, what if I could go back?" and things like that. And so that's it's tough. It's definitely tough. Which I do enjoy that. Following that, the next song is "You Are Enough."
Right.
So that's a good order.
The song is in the title, man. That's a song that Johnny, our bassist, has just been fighting for like the past 2 years because it's been written for a while. That's another one that I wrote with Josh in Atlanta. Um, that song is just about, the idea that when you are at your worst, the ugliest, like your most miserable version of yourself, you are enough. Like you are enough right now. It's not something that you have to aspire to or that you have to develop or like these boxes you have to check in order to be worthy. You are there right now, you know? And the song just talks about, going through life and looking at other people and seeing all your flaws and really, living with this voice in your head that's constantly telling you, what about you is inadequate. And it was just another song that we wanted to put out that's just like, this just needs to be something simple that people can just put on and hear me tell them this, because I truly believe that. Like, when it comes to the worth of each individual person, that's something I'm so passionate about. And so I think to just create a song that's just so direct, where like any kid in the world, we've put out some dark songs, so I think it's also important to be like, I want every kid listening to our music to be able to put this on whenever they may need it, you know? So I think it's a great one. I think it lives more in that like top 40 Lewis Capaldi, Ed Sheeran kind of world as far as the production, but it's just a classic Citizen Soldier ballad. I think it really lives in that world, and it'll feel familiar to them.
Well, it's interesting when you're saying sort of to hear it from you, because I know a lot of people out there listen to the band. You're the voice of Citizen Soldier, and so it will resonate with them. And I know for a fact that that will definitely make a difference just from the types of comments that I see on the videos that I do. And so I'm glad that you guys have put a song called "You Are Enough" out, and I'm looking forward to hearing it because I tell the same message. Everyone is enough right here, right now. You know, you are you, and there's no changing it. But, well, there is changing it. It's up to you to change it. But even if you don't right now, you're still enough. So, everyone listening, you are enough. Right, well, we'll move on to the next track, number 11, Wired for Worthless.
Nasty, heavy, evil, screamy. Uh, there are going to be some moments that like make the reaction video people poop their pants. I can't believe I just said that. I just think it's heavy, but in such a tasteful way. It doesn't feel forced. That song's written about reactive attachment disorder and people who just like I've lived through years of trauma where I've been treated in a way that communicates that I am not worth anything. How am I supposed to rewire that and fix that and change that? And I've worked with clients who struggle with attachment disorders, and it is so hard to change those beliefs and perceptions about themselves. And the song is just about them saying it like, I'm wired for worthless. I'm wired to see myself this way. How do I fix this? You know? And the song is an effort for me to understand reactive attachment disorder and major depression in a way that's more just real and honest.
So talking of the vocals, you said is very screamy. It's been coming into the tracks more and more that I've noticed. Anyway, you're sort of expanding the way that you're singing and things like that. Is that something that you're actively working on, or and something that you're going to be trying to bring in more with the screams and the higher like the pitch stuff and things like that, or is it just vibes?
I hate screaming. That's not like it at all. I don't like fever. There's there's a bonus track on this record that didn't make the album. We'll see if we put it out. But it sounds like old Slipknot. That's how heavy it is. Like it's just like it's ridiculous. And after doing it, I was just like, this. I hated that. Like I did not enjoy that. I mean, I think you just have to find the balance of what feels real and honest and adds to the song and what's contrived. Like, at what point are we just trying to appease the 5% of people saying, I want heavier, I want Citizen Soldier to sound like Slipknot or to sound, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it has to be real and it has to feel true to me. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna do what feels right for
yeah,
me.
and and what won't mess up a live show after singing it once.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and we don't lip sync live, like 90% of bands do.
Yeah.
So I'm honest about like, hey, some of these songs, good luck hearing them live because unless you want my voice burned out 2 songs in, ain't happening. But I'm working on it. I got a great coach.
That's what we like to hear. We'll move on to the next song in the track list then, number 12, Strong for Somebody Else. That's a big one.
Great song. Great song. Um, Wrote it with a couple of my buddies in Nashville that I'd never written with before. So it was just like boom, boom, boom. They move so fast. And so I had to kind of just fly by the seat of my pants. But great song I was in a therapy session with a client, and it was a dad that struggles with depression. And he was like, Jake, if it weren't for my kids, I wouldn't be here anymore. I just feel like I'm being strong for somebody else, and that's my entire existence right now. It's a miserable way to live. And that song is just about any person that's had to live for somebody else and how hopeless and hard that is. I think as a parent now, like with a little daughter that I just adore, and she has me wrapped around her finger, I choke up when I hear that song now because it takes it's just another level of emotion for me as a parent. But that song is just gonna crush. That's my prediction. I think people are gonna absolutely eat it up.
Oh, Strong for Somebody Else. I mean, that's, yeah. So many people have been there, so I'm glad that again. You guys just—it's like you just know. Well, it is. You do know. That is the thing. So I love the reality of your guys' music. It's hits differently. It hits differently. So moving on to the next track on the list, number 13, "Made by Misery."
Yeah, that's a cool one. Then we went to Nashville and we were working with Kyle Odell, who did some of our older stuff. He produced Down the Rabbit Hole. Some of the more genty, rocky, like metally stuff. He's usually the mastermind behind that because he just likes to push us as far as the heaviness is concerned. Just a really good anthem. I mean, like it's like for fans of Face to Face, like that kind of song, that's just it's got some more attitude and sass, and it's got some great verses. Um, some really, really cool imagery about being reborn by, the trauma in a positive way. And it's got some really filthy riffs, some really, really good heaviness to it. Yeah. And, I think it just kind of will scratch that itch for people who like that heavier, borderline metal sounding stuff.
I'm keeping note of all of these. I'm adding them to my gym playlist. So be aware of this. Be aware of this.
Those streams, man. Come on.
We will move to the next one then. Number 14, "Without You." This one's gonna make me cry, isn't it?
It might. That song is about addiction. It's made me cry. Only three songs on this record have made me cry. This is one of them. This song is not about it's about a relationship with an addiction. Um, and just like surrendering to something that is killing you. It's so sad. It's like I keep saying this. I love so many bridges on this record. By the way, people who complain about our bridges getting too short, you're gonna love this record. You're gonna find a reason to complain about some of the songs that don't have a bridge, but some of these bridges are the best we've ever done. And this bridge just says, "You make the bad things beautiful, and you'll be worth my funeral. Because if I leave or I stay, I'm still dead either way. I know the Reaper can't be far, but you'll be worth the broken hearts. Because if I leave or I stay, I'm still dead either way." It's like you're the only thing that makes life feel bearable. People with deep trauma that cope with substance or whatever their vice is. It's like this helps me more than any therapist or anything. It's so hard. They feel trapped by the addiction, and it's so hard to get out of that situation. And so it's like a twisted love song. You know, it's in the chorus is just "There's no peace without you, so bury me if you have to." You know, it's it's a tough pill to swallow for me. I'll say that much. There are things and struggles that I have that I'll never speak about publicly. We all have things that are private, but this is one that hits a little too close to home for me at times, and experiences I've had in my life, and in damage that I've done to my relationships and to myself. And some of those things are just a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, sometimes you sit there and you just you know what you're doing, and yet you still do it.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's tough. Well, we will move on to the next song on the list, number 15, "Black Hole Brain." Now, has this got anything to do with Black Hole Sun at all?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
No, I love Chris Cornell, legend, obviously. But Black Hole Brain's one of my favorites on the record. We recorded the song three different ways, and I went into like the Jake that everyone hates because everyone's like, "It sounds awesome," and I'm like, "No, no, this is not. Does not sound how it's supposed to sound." Because this was originally a really heavy song, and it just felt so contrived and try hard, like it just was not right. And Josh ended up producing it like a kind of like an "If I Surrender" type feel song, and I love it. I think it's about complex trauma and the experiences I've had working with my clients, and the avoidance of like them telling me I'm not ready to face this yet. This is too terrifying to look in the eye. And again, another bridge that I love. I love the bridges in these songs. The bridge is, "I don't want a mind that's open. I don't want a heart that feels. I'd rather plan my own funeral than face what it would take to feel. Now ignorance is my religion, and I'm not afraid to die." because there can't be a hell that's worse than the one that's buried in my mind. It's like if you knew what it was like to face this and feel this and live this again, you would never ask me to face it. This black hole brain, like, there's a reason I buried this all so far down, you know? And I think it's just like for people who like that, like power ballad, citizen soldier stuff, the waiting on the sun, the um pretend my pain away, maybe, just the big citizen soldier ballad stuff. I think they're really gonna love this one for sure. Anyone who struggled with trauma or PTSD, I think this could be their favorite song on the record.
Right. That brings us to number 16. Victim or Survivor?
Yeah, yeah, this is a fun one. Just a like southern rock country-esque, like four on the floor stomper, um that just talks about like, yeah, we can validate and empathize all day long, but at the end of the day we have to make a choice about what we do with what happened to us, right?
Yeah.
Like, are we going to define us, or are we going to make the decisions for it? Are we going to be a victim or a survivor? And that song's probably going to have a feature. There's some juicy intel that we're working on right now. We're thinking about doing an open verse thing for TikTok for that song and seeing if we can get some interest on a collab for that song. But yeah, it's another one people are going to want to roll the windows down in the summer and just blast it and just sing along. It's a really fun, definitely in that vein of like Hallelujah, I'm Not Dead, Make Hate to Me. Not so much Make Hate to Me in like tone, but like the soulful southern rock swing kind of vibe. It'll be a fun one for people to sing live.
I'm looking forward to seeing if you do put the open verse up to see what people come up with on TikTok. Cause there's a lot of creative people out there too.
Yeah,
And I'll put a terrible submission in too.
do it. Absolutely.
So moving on to number 17, we have Talk Me Down. Talk Me Down.
Yeah, we were at the end of our Nashville trip and we had one day left, and I just had this weird gut feeling. I have this happens to me every now and then, and I'm like, we need to write one song from scratch while we're here, me and Kyle Odell, just the two of us. And so everyone else went back to the hotel and went to sleep, and we were up till 3 in the morning, just writing something from nothing. And it's one of my favorites on the record. It's just so hooky. It's like if Halsey and I Prevail and 3 Days Grace wrote a song together. It's got like all the pop hookiness to it, but it's such a big anthemic song. Um, I really want to play it live someday. But it's just about like being in that position where you're like, I'm in a crisis and I have no one to talk me down. Where do I go from here? This is a bad spot to be in. This is dangerous. This is scary. And that's an important part of this story with ICU, right? Because that's the lead up to the hospitalization. So, really cool song, great riff, really heavy, so repetitive and hooky, but like in a great way. It's just a great earworm that will get stuck in people's heads.
Also, shout out to Kyle Odell. He's a lovely guy. He messaged me one time back in the day when I was first on my start of the journey of this. So I'm like, I know that person. I've heard that name. Shout
Super
out.
talented guy. Super talented.
That then leads us to the title track of the record, ICU.
Yeah, man, this song in a nutshell and the whole concept of the record. So this record was originally going to be called Everyday Hero, which is a song that didn't end up making the record, ironically, but it'll probably be a bonus track. Um, this song is ICU and also ICU. That's the whole purpose of the record. Like this record is for anyone who's ever been hospitalized for a mental health challenge, or been in that dark place, even metaphorically. The metaphoric ICU. And I know there are kids like me that are going to be there after we put this song out, or have been there. And the song was written from the perspective of, if I could go back to myself in that hospital room, what would I say? You know. And I don't want to give any lyrics away. I will say Josh was in this room sitting in this chair, and he was finishing mixing it, And I walked in and he was like, "This is the most impactful piece of art you will probably ever create." And he just said, "This is easily the best song you guys have ever put out." And people will disagree. It's a ballad. So some people don't love that, but he just played it for us and we all just sat here and I just, it choked me up. And there's just like anytime you have a moment like that, there's like this like sacred feeling in the room where everyone just knows that like something special just happened. Um, but that whole song, I can't really go back and listen to it. It's really hard for me to listen to, especially the bridge. Um, but I don't know. For some reason, I feel like I should spoil the bridge. Let me give people the kind of content I would want if this were my favorite band. I'll give this little tidbit.
All
So
right.
the bridge says, "Oh, okay." The bridge says, "I see you trying not to cry, wishing you had not survived, but don't give up because there's another side, and you still have a lot of songs to write." And I remember writing that bridge and showing it to Josh, and he was just like, "Yeah, that feels like the most honest thing you've written that you shared with me." And that was just half the bridge. There's another half of it, but um, and just like none of these songs of this band would exist if I hadn't continued. Think about all the unrealized potential that will be lost if other people choose to not continue. And so if this album, this song, and this record can be a vehicle or a vessel for people connecting and supporting each other in a way that keeps people alive, how much potential can be saved? People have a lot of songs to write still. You know, whether songs means they work in the field of therapy or EMTs or they become teachers or just more empathetic human beings that can help people in their communities or families who struggle. That makes the world so much better. Um, so yeah, in a nutshell, that's the theme of the record, and um, I think the video that we're gonna do for that song is gonna be pretty special. It's gonna require a lot of vulnerability on my end, but I think it's gonna be a "This Is Your Sign" thing where at the very end of the record we're like, boom, there you go. You know, I think it's gonna be a pretty powerful statement.
Well, I think I can say this on behalf of any real fan. Thank you for even giving us that little tidbit, and in general, thank you for the vulnerability that you do put yourself in to write these songs. And yeah, you're doing special work here. I've seen that from the start, so I just wanted to say that. What a record this is seeming like it's going to be. It's
And 6 bonus tracks that we're gonna find some way to release. We might use them as like exclusives but it's gonna be so much content this year, just like every year. It's just gonna be a ton of stuff.
So if people wanted to get the record, find the record, where can they do that, and when can they get access to that?
You can pre-save the record right now at citizensoldier.band/pre-save. And if they follow us on Instagram, on our social media platforms, they're gonna know. We release a song every 3 weeks or so, and then towards the end of the year, we'll drop the entire record.
Perfect. And then links will also be in the description, so you can get ease of access for getting them. Jake, it's been a pleasure to have you on again. As I said at the start, I'm honoured that you guys allow me to do this with you. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the fans, to the people? The floor is yours if you'd like to do the outro for us.
No, I think I just want to say that we're all glad that you're back and that you're hopefully feeling a little bit better and more rested and healthy. And your time is just as valuable as ours. So thank you for taking the time to let me talk about this stuff.
There we go. Thanks all around. We love that, and I appreciate the sentiment as well. So make sure, guys, you go over and check out Citizen Soldier. Go and subscribe to their channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.
Thanks, guys.